We have 90 minutes. I told him upstairs. You know, when
I
we
can
were
get chatty, you know.
We went through everything upstairs. When you look at this man's body of work on film, television, and stage, we would be here for the next year. So we're going to do some highlights.
Okay.
But I
you will
want to
be
go.
my shaman guide.
I'm going to
You're
be.
my
So we're
Sacagawea to my Lewis and Clark.
fabulous. We're going on the road together, just so you all know. We're going
He's
on the road.
fantastic. How many of these have you done?
I've done a lot of these, but this is really special.
Well, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
So we're going to go back to the beginning. Growing up, where did your love for the theater and music start, and what impact did the Chatham Music Day Camp have on you?
I'll do this quickly. Let me see. Let me see. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and there were 4 of us kids. My dad was a doctor. My mom was a mom. But you know, both of them, I'll do this quickly, had a kind of a flirtation with the arts and acting particularly. My dad said, long before I knew him, of course, that when he was a teenager, they wanted to work he wanted to work himself out of poverty, and his dad had come over and they had a luggage store and a candy store. He said, I'm going to either be a doctor or an actor. And he said he stuck his head in the back of a classroom at Carnegie Tech, as it was then called, and saw an acting class and said to us that he thought to himself at that point, this is out of my league, whatever that meant. But he and my mom had something similar. So they carried a kind of latent and frustrated, maybe, love of the arts. They would go all the time to New York and bring back playbills, as I told you, and cast albums of musicals and plays. And he had a story once. He ran into Lee J. Cobb, and they'd just seen him in King Lear. And he told the story of how he said, oh, Mr. Cobb, you know, I saw you and you were just wonderful. And he said, and Lee J. Cobb beamed. He seemed to like that, you know, he liked that. And so Chatham...
Yeah.
Around 10, between 5th and 6th grades, I went to this camp's Music Day Camp, it was called. And, they'd drive me and pick me up every day. And it was a beautiful campus. And they had things that I felt I excelled at. I really felt myself for the first time. I was a fish out of water before that in the, in the school, at a little school that I was going to. But this group, who were more sophisticated and a little, more, something, I connected with them. There was, badminton, and I was kind of sportif. I did well at softball and different things, and arts and crafts I did well. I already had a kind of flair for painting, and I took special art classes and music appreciation because I was already taking piano lessons. And then they had this drama course. Guys, yeah. And they cast me after 6 weeks in the lead of this thing called Belle of the Balkans. I was Cohen, the tourist. It was a takeoff on Gilbert and Sullivan. And I remember my mom helping me rehearse and kind of prepare, learn it, and I was romantic, and I took the girl for a walk and sang her this song, and I don't know. Anyway, it was in the Chapel Theater, they called it, the thing, big, nice theater, and the parents come and stuff, but it was a real theater, and I remember I had funny shorts on and a camera and a hat, and I went, well, here I go. This is my cue, and I had to leap on stage. And from that point on, that night, I had an exhilarated time. And my dad had already said, if you find something you love doing, that might be a compass, a pointer, a lighthouse for your vocational choice, which I'd gotten recently. Gee, I guess I'm going to be something. I got to find a way to make my way in the world. That night, they said, how'd you like that afterwards? And I said, yeah, I like that. But I really had gotten the bug and got that idea, put the two ideas together. And now fast forward to Carnegie Mellon University between 9th and 10th and 10th and 11th grades, 2 6-week summer sessions once again, where I found a group that I really, at that point, even more, and they were the regular teachers from the college, Edith Skinner, the famous Edith Skinner, and there was a mime teacher, and I kind of had a flair for that. Many other things, I loved it to pieces. Also, Mordecai Lawner, who played Stanley in that production we were talking about of Death of a Salesman with Lee J. Cobb, was teaching Meisner stuff, because he had worked with Meisner, and now he went back to Pittsburgh, where he was from. So I had all of that. And at that point, it had transmuted into this obsession whereby, as I've told boringly too many times, I would take a shower in the morning with the steamy shower door on which I would write, "Please, God, let me be an actor." And before I left, I'd wipe it off because it was still a secret. I didn't even tell my parents that's kind of what I want to do. And that was it. And then I wound up at the neighborhood Playhouse, and
That's where we're going next.
Yeah.
You studied at the neighborhood Playhouse with the great Sandy Meisner. How did he and his training change everything for you?
Well, he was great, of course. If you know anything about him, ever read The Fervent Years or know anything about that, he was the horse's mouth from which Mordecai Lawner had taken his stuff that I had some exposure to. So at the beginning, I lied about my age. I was, in fact, just turning 18. They require you to be 18 already, and they tried to throw me out after they found out. But I followed him around and begged him to let me stay, and said, I don't know, I wish I did. Well, his technique, if you know anything about it, now I'll talk about a little bit, we can touch on, I won't bore you, but on things that I know you're maybe interested in and familiar with, his craft, I believe, because I exposed myself to Lee Strasberg. I went over and saw him teach, and Stella Adler. I took a 6-week course with her. Harold Clurman, I knew and saw several lectures, and Bobby Lewis. I came to know all those people from the that were the pioneers from the group theater. I believe that Meisner's technique, at least for me, was the foundational best way. This 2-year program that he has, and that improvisation that I'm sure you know about, which forms the cornerstone of the first year. We can talk about what the second year then does, which is more Stella Adler and how to make the material work. It made all the difference to me. I was just thrilled by it, and kind of had a flair for it early on, and didn't know yet about discipline and really how to work like I do now, but I was doing as well as I could, and was doing well, and it did everything, And I still think of everything that he taught, and then I taught for a couple of decades whenever I wasn't working. It's 10 or 15 years after. I'd studied with Bill Esper, some there, but then with Peggy Fury here. But then I taught at this place that we kind of began with kind of the idea that if you know how to teach something, you know it better. I wanted to really, I'm a craft geek. I wanted to know it inside and out as much as I could. So I taught it and became very full of conviction and passion about my own particular way and interpretation of what he was after and how to get it out of students. And I loved it. I love the classroom, and I loved doing that. It's a very healthy thing to do. It kind of goes along with the Meisner, you're better if you leave yourself alone and get interested in what you're actually doing with and to the other person. Well, teaching really does that kind of, as you open the box, that's kind of the first intention of it, that you have to do that. You can't be interested in putting on a show or how am I doing. You really have to go, who are you, and how can I help you specifically? And it's a delicious thing to do. Anyway, so he's changed my life. So that technique, use what exists and everything about it. It also intersects and overlaps with life aspiration. If you're spiritually so-called inclined, with an appetite for getting the most out of life and being, as they say now, present or mindful or available, or and then which allows you then to contribute as effectively as possible to, in theatrically, what the playwright is intended, and sending and delivering that message, or in life, however you want to put it, making life, doing the best with this gift, being worthy of this gift, as they say at the end of.
Listen. Everybody I've spoken to, like Sandy Meisner and all these people, Elizabeth Wilson, all these great actresses and actors who study with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fantastic. But as I was going to say, is that at the end of Saving Private Ryan, as he says, before he dies, earn it, earn it. We saved you. You've got this one life. Make it worth, this gift. Be up to, and worthy of having gotten this gift.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Well, you have one of the most glorious careers on film, TV, and stage. I'd like to mention some of the highlights. And just tell me what comes to mind. Totally. A fun story, a great memory. You're all in for the ride. Here we go.
I apologize already.
Oh, no. We need to start with what's happening right now. You are known to millions of fans for playing the Wizard of Oz in Wicked, and now in Wicked for Good. Wait till you see Wicked for Good. Wait till you see this man make magic in that too. There are so many Wicked fans in the house. These two films are taking the world by storm. What an incredible journey you have been on with these films, unlike anything else. I mean, who would have ever thought? You 2 movies, 5 years of your life or whatever. Have you been able to put any of it into perspective?
You know, probably not. You know, probably this whole life, like the play Our Town, until the whole thing is over.
Yeah.
And you come back and you go, why didn't I appreciate every moment and every person and look them in the eyes more, you know. It's like that. So probably not. Probably I'm wasting my way through life. I'm trying not to.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not. And I try to be as grateful and appreciative and present and aware of what's going on. But probably not.
Yeah.
No. Probably it'll take some time before I go, wow.
Well, part 2 is just happening now, so you're in the middle of it, right?
Yes.
You're in the middle of it.
Like they tell George Bailey at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, you know, you didn't know what a wonderful life you had, you know.
But you are perfection as the Wizard of Oz, a great showman, sometimes magical, sometimes flim-flam, so different and layered. How did you go about crafting him and working with John M. Shu, your director, on this?
You're so nice. Well, I'll tell you briefly, if it doesn't bore you too horribly.
Right.
You know, I took it very seriously. You can see well, Sandy Meisner, by the way, that's the technology, and it works. It worked on me, or I was ready for it, or I'm suited for this in some ways. It's a technology for, you know, pretending under imaginary circumstances and telling a story, an imaginary story, but opening up. It's really, and that's where it intersects also. It's a matter of opening up. So so I was going to say, so yes, you can see I've devoted my life to being open, trying to, you know, aspire to, you know, the impossible optimum of openness and connection. So Wicked-wise, yes, you can imagine when I saw Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth 20 years ago, I had an emergency emotional condition by the end of that. So then they offered me the part, and like everybody else in the cast, we were all felt that way. I mean, I've been in a lot of good casts with a lot of good material. You feel, oh my God, Jurassic Park, it's a good book, and here's Stephen, we got to be right for it. But this came already pre-enrolled in a religious way with every member of the creators and cast. I likewise, and so that's first of. So I was nothing if not conscientious as I always am, because now by this time I have learned discipline and how to prepare and, you know, doing my best, you know, given the continuation of my original passion, which was I want to make this happen, you know, as well as I can. So I worked on it, of course, you know, in whatever way that I do, you know. And by the time I got to John, who's a brilliant director, you know, and that's, as we said, at this point, I'm clearer than ever that you need a good director. That's what you need most as an actor. You need a good director to not only collaborate with, but to make a good movie. You can't be good if the movie isn't good, and you know they've got to use you well. So by the time I'd already gotten the idea, I'm very excited about him, and we connected, and he was like, here's what we're going to do, and here's how the movie, I think, starts, and your couple of numbers, I think we're going to do this, and it goes this line is this, and this line is that, and you do that. Wow, that sounds great. So I was very, very excited and worked hard on the music, because I'm a serious humble student of, a serious student of music, and a lover of music, so I got for this case, in this case, a coach which has organically developed from my relationship with Alex Frank. He's the creative director of our band. I have 4 records out, and we play music, and I've been singing, and he kind of has coached me. I've taken a lot of singing lessons. I like classes and I like working. I've worked with Sue Seaton and many other people that we know about, and I've done la 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 la, you know, a lot of it. Until I've come to, with many different people here in New York, where we are, in Los Angeles, I've overdone it. I've over-prepared oftentimes, and before I acted for years, I would bring my tape and make sure I was vocally open, et cetera, et cetera. I realize now, at least I'm at a different stage now where I do it a little differently. But what was I? So wait. I was going to say. So the vocal part of it, yes. Alex Frank and I worked on how I could best render these songs, and of course Stephen Schwartz was great, and we had sessions. What's the best key? We'll change the key for you, and da-da-da-da. So I was very serious about that, and then Alex Frank was there every moment of the shooting, and we tried to make it good. That's first of all. Then John M. Chu. Here's what I did. At that point, I was using a little bit of a technique whereby, as I told you, I would get a tape recorder and tape all the other people's lines in my few scenes that I have in the one movie and then the second movie, leaving pauses for my own part, as I'm sure many people do. I also, as I did with you, Angel, I also get people, surrogates, sparring partners, so I can, I have them over all the time. I can work on it. There's no substitute for that. Yeah. Back and forth and back and forth. You know your lines. And then you go. And I developed, by the time I got to the set, I had all my part not only memorized, but I had come up with, because sometimes they allow you to, encourage you to improvise a little bit and to tweak things. I said, early on I said, or are you like Wes Anderson or David Mamet if I'm doing that? And you have to stay absolutely verbatim, but make it somehow seem as if you're making it up, but it's improvised. He said, no, and I love both those, challenges, as I told my students and how we worked on it, but I like it for myself. And he said, no, make it your own. Make it your own. Winnie Holtzman, Dana Fox have done a beautiful screenplay, but make it your own. Figure it out. So I did. By the time I got with him, I said, okay, we're going to have a rehearsal. We didn't have any read-throughs. We didn't have, what's it called?
They're read-throughs.
Table reads,
yeah.
Where I've had some movies, as you know, they do that. Yeah. Some movies they don't. This one didn't know anybody. You met the other actors and stuff. But I said, but that's okay with me, because I like to get together with the director and just have a kind of, here's what I'm doing. So that's what we did. I got together with him and I said, do you have a moment here? Can we use this time this way? I brought the tape recorder. Can I play this and do my whole part for you? And you'll see all these scenes as we go through it without talking about it. Let me go through it and I'll show you the whole story as far as I'm thinking right now, and let's see how we go from there. Let's start there. He said, yeah, let me see that. I did it, and he was like, yep, I like it. Tell me if I'm in the wrong direction. Nope, good. Hey, Ariana, Cynthia, come here. Let's do these scenes with Jeff now. He might improvise a little bit, but let's fool around with it. We did that. I connected with them from the start. They're out of this world. Anyway, we did that a little bit, and then it went from there, and then I'd show up at the set, and he was also not massively prepared to run this, this operation of doing a production like that. He, as we said, he cracked the code. He knows what he's doing, how to make a musical. He dances himself and everything, so he knows music. He knows how to make a musical on stage into a movie, I do believe, as well as anybody ever has. Yeah. I'd seen In the Heights, and I was very impressed with that. So we got to the set. He was not only prepared, but then, because of that, also improvisational. Yeah. And he said, let's change this around. So we worked like that, and he was just great. And there we go. That's a little bit. That's a snippet of what happened.
That's great. Bringing himself to the role.
Yeah.
I mean, what a cast.
You want to cast, and by the way, I didn't talk anybody about the meat and potatoes, and I don't want to bore you with this, but the meat and potatoes of that part are a little bit interesting. You know, I mean, all the logical actory ways that you need to fill in, at least I do, I like to. How did he get here? Really, who was he before? What kind of flim-flammery was he up to? In this, it's different than the play, I think, or certainly the movie. He's, as you see behind the curtain, he's got a workshop that Nathan Crowley designed, and he's kind of the inventor of the 20th century. He's a little bit like Tesla or Edison or something, and a self-promoter, of course. And, so there's all that. Wherever this parallel universe is, not the dreamscape that Dorothy has when she gets hit on the head, but it's another sort of reality here that I really had to know about. And then of course his own personal issues, which have to do with his all too human, even not unfamiliar, ways of betraying your good principles, wholesome principles, for the sake of a little more status, or being well liked, as Willy Loman refers to, or or position of authority, not real power. I don't like when people say this, oh, he's powerful. He's the most powerful. Real power is being able to be honest, connected to yourself, connected with others, and make lovely things and lift people up. That's a real power. But this guy has some authority for a moment. He wants to do some good things, and maybe but he falls into some horrible things, animal cruelty, as we know, persecution of the Munchkins, and it's irrelevant, and we know all about that. So we had to explore that, and John and I discussed that, and then where the relationship with Marble falls into that, and how that goes down, and where we started out, and how, as you see, I don't want to spoil anything in the second movie, but she takes a turn of unremorseful malevolence, it seems, while I'm stricken with conflict about what we're doing. And then, of course, as you know from the play, the revelation at the end is so horrible. So we explored some of that, had to kind of fulfill all that assignment.
Wait till you see part 2. What a cast you've gotten to work with. The cast.
Yes, you're telling me. Oh my gosh. Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo. You can't get better acting than that. You can't get better singing at that. I mean, not to mention Jonathan Bailey and Michelle Yeoh and Ethan Slater. And
Go ahead.
Fantastic.
Seriously, I mean, what a
Marissa
cast.
Bodie. And Bowen Yang, they're just fantastic. Peter Dinklage in the first one, voices, and Coleman Domingo voices something here. But it's a dream cast. As Mark Platt, whom we could talk about, says, he's been intimately, involved in all the casting of the hundreds of people who've played all those parts. And there have been great and are now great Elphabas and Clinton. But this was a pretty magical, lightning in a bottle pairing of those two particularly, who sing that Stephen Schwartz stuff like nobody's business and act the thing, and then have formed something together and brought to their relationship this important Shakespearean epic relationship, deep, otherworldly relationship on screen. They filled it up in a way that was very special, unique, and unexpected even.
But then there's you. He does wonderful as Stephen Schwartz, huge production number in part 2. How cool was that?
And they changed. It's really cool. And they changed it. I'd seen Joel Grave, of course, originally, and my friend Ben Vereen did it. I like to look up. And anybody, my students sometimes would go, oh, I don't want to see the movie. I don't want to see them do this because it's going to, the cliche, it's going to undermine my way of doing it. And I said, okay, everybody to each his own. Let me see what you're doing. Okay.
Watch the movie.
And sometimes I would go, yes. First of all, I think even Sandy Meisner said you have to be able to make it your own. You can take any idea and make it your own. That's what we're after. So take somebody's good ideas, bad ideas, watch the fucking thing, because professional actors, you may, students often are like, fall into too easily the arrogance of, oh, what we're doing here is better than so-and-so and so-and-so. Often not true in my humble opinion. And so I would say, please consider that you can watch these professional actors and get something, at least get into the ballpark of what this is about, you know, et cetera, et cetera.
That's what a great teacher does.
So I'd seen Ben Vereen do it.
Oh, yeah.
And so the wonderful number, particularly now that you've mentioned it, Stephen Schwartz rewrote it, the verse of it completely, because it's a very relevant, kind of interesting, just a bunch of ideas in that thing, and then included, as you may have already gathered from the previews, if you haven't seen the movie yet, Ariana's character, Glinda, is in it, because I'll just hear sausage making, because Stephen says he would redo it if he had to do it again, and may rejigger the thing on stage, because the logic of the wizard who has betrayed her and shown himself to be a, no good Nick, in the 4 years ago, when she comes back, how does he, just with the rendering of a charming song saying, this is how it happened to me, they said I was wonderful, and you could be wonderful too, come on, join the team. How does she whiplash her way into rejoining, unless Ariana, Glinda, with whom she formed this thing, says, yeah, come on. So Glinda's character is part of that song now. And of course, maybe Elphaba, now that I'm thinking out loud about it, maybe Elphaba's character, like mine, subconsciously knows that we have a more important relationship, shadow relationship, that has yet to be discovered, that may lend her the availability for this mystery, maybe. I do.
Get ready, part 2. You are superb in both films, and watching you do production numbers is so magical, just so you know that.
Thank you. Well, you need a good director. You need Chris Scott, the choreographer.
Totally. Christopher Scott.
All that stuff,
I'd like to mention your Broadway debut, which was in the Tony Award-winning Best Musical, Two Gentlemen of Verona, which I saw him do in the park before Broadway. Debuts happen only once. What do you remember about yours?
Well, I probably shouldn't tell the story I told you.
No.
It was a memorable night, that's all I'll say. I was 18. I was a tenderfoot. Joe Pat, I didn't know anything about anything. I'm a late bloomer, and I still am stupid about a lot of things, but I didn't know Shakespeare. I didn't know about the public theater. Joe Papp, but Raul Julia and Galt McDermott, who had done Hair, and John Guare, who, he wrote the book, adapted the book. We're putting it together. As we were rehearsing it, I came in late to the rehearsals, didn't even audition. They just wanted somebody tall, and I wound up being part of the songs and the numbers and stuff like that.
Because they called the neighborhood playhouse looking for someone
tall. They
called
the neighborhood playhouse, said, do you have somebody tall? I think we need a guard for these couple of scenes to dress up and kind of carry Janelle Allen off and stuff, which I wound up doing on the Dick Cavett show. There was a mistake, but I went on doing that. And so I got in, and I said, hey, everybody who was in that hit show from then on auditioned like crazy. I was the only one who never auditioned, and I somehow got in, and and then understudied Ed Gilmore on Broadway. But I was going to say, what was I saying about?
How magical was your debut?
Oh, the debut. Here's what I have to tell you. So. That show, we were doing it we previewed it, I guess. They do at the park, right, for a little bit. And it was kind of and working, not working. Raul and Clifton Davis, they were kind of learning their lines in rehearsal. And then Joe Papp said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I know what we're going to do. Tomorrow night, we're opening tomorrow night. The opening song, that's the end song. The end song, that's the thing. Let's do this. Cut that. So he kind of did one of those. And I'll be darned if opening night, and not until then, we did it. We did our stuff, and the audience cheered like it was the Super Bowl. They went wild. It was somehow caught. It somehow did it. It rang the bell, and that was it. And
the brilliance of Joseph Papp.
Yeah. He many people, but Joseph Papp, yes, he was something.
Stockard Channing also made her debut with you, right?
Stockard Channing. Yeah, she replaced on Broadway. Once we went to the St. James, she replaced that part. Yeah. And she and I hit it off. Gee, she was great. And I didn't tell you this story. One day she said, hey, I'm auditioning for Pippin, this thing they're doing, which was Stephen Schwartz, right? That's why I'm thinking about it. She said, "You play piano. Can you come along and play piano for me for this song?" I went, and we went on the Godspell, set.
Yeah.
And for a couple of people out in the dark, and I played, and she did her stuff, and the way she tells the story, I don't know if I remember it. They said, "Good, Stockard. Who's that piano player? Who's that?" Something like that,
What a full circle moment for you. Now doing Wicked. Years later.
Unbelievable. Well, he's Pittsburgh. He was involved in Carnegie Mellon. He did Godspell. He came up with Godspell there, Stephen Schwartz, and then we intersected with Prince of Egypt.
Oh yeah.
I had played Moses' brother, Aaron. Did the voice. Michelle Pfeiffer was in it, and Sandra Bullock was my sister.
Wow.
I said to Sandra Bullock, I said, "Hey, we should. They usually get you in a booth and you do it by yourself. Let's do it together. Let's do our scenes together so we have some, which we did." And
Connection like Sandy Meisner learning.
That's right.
Doing it together. Well, I want to get into some of your films. Many of us took notice of you in the very first few films you made in the mid-'70s. Some of you may be as old as I. I remember going to see these movies saying, "Who's that guy? Who's that guy?" Which is like a few lines. Oh, there's that guy again that I saw in a movie. You worked with some of the most celebrated directors early on. One of your debut films was Death Wish. You remember Death Wish? Okay. Oh, yeah, totally. So
Michael Winner directed that.
No.
Charles Bronson, of course, Hope Lang.
So your scene with the other thugs and what you did to Hope Lang's character freaked me out, and it does to this day. But I want to ask you about working with Michael Winner when you were shooting that. Like, how crazy was that scene, and what was he screaming at you all to do or whatever? Tell us.
That's the thing. He's known as his legacy is that he was a screamer, and that. And he, sure enough, I'd never done a movie. I just stayed with Sandy Meisner. I thought, oh, this is good. I wanted to come off like I thought they shouldn't know. I was a little kind of methody or misguidedly methody. I said they shouldn't know that I'm like they should think they got a real crazy tough guy. So after several days, I did one thing or another. I didn't shower and stuff like that. After we were in a tight apartment where all that goes on, the AD said, "Jeff, can I talk to you for a second?" He said, "You stink. You smell. You gotta shower." Something like that. "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." So. So Michael Winner, yes. Yeah. No, the first shot, you've heard this story before, as we're the three of us are skulking up the stairs to this Upper East Side apartment, which we'd gotten at Christie's, and we're skulking up, and we're doing a camera rehearsal. I didn't know how this thing works. He goes, "Okay, come on, do it, guys. Let me see what you're going to do." Okay, but and he yells at the top of his voice, "Goldblum, start acting now." Which kind of, shamed me. I was burning with shame and sort of, should I be mad? But then I did it. It came out okay.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, as a direction, not that bad. Start acting now.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Kind of all you need to know.
Well, then you got to work with the late, great Robert Altman on 2 films back-to-back, first California Split and Nashville, and some other films later on. What was it like working with Robert Altman, and how did he find you?
Oh, I'll tell you, it was fantastic. He was, if you know him, if you don't know him, he's something. See all his movies. He was a master artist, painterly artist who would adhere to the script if he was doing Jimmy Dean. He kept experimenting. He was a real creative person and free spirit and great guy, great leader. He saw me. I was doing El Grande to Coca-Cola, this show. Death Wish was the first movie I ever auditioned for, and I got it. We went in 3 at a time and pretended to do bad things to women who weren't there. That's how I got that. Then I went and studied with Bill Esper, and after I said, well, I better now, I guess I better. Oh, and then I got 2 Gentlemen of Verona, and then I went, well, my study is now kind of over. Now I guess I better do this intentionally. I fluked my way into a couple of things here. So I got the trade papers. It was then backstage or something. Cattle call for El Grande Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
So I showed up. And I got it. And then we were doing, it's a funny show, and I played piano a little bit in it, and had to do a lot of things. And people, I got an agent that way. They were saying, "Oh, you're good. Let me, you have to be with us." And it was, we were at the Broadway Central Hotel, right? And it fell down, a few hours before the show, after we were up and running, and people got hurt. And I went and rode my bicycle from the West Village, and hey, I'm in the show. You'll let me by? No. We're no show tonight. This is fun. Oh, yeah, Jeff, come here. Oh, there's my group. A week later, they remounted it at the Plaza 9, which was then a cabaret or a legitimate little theater in the Plaza Hotel. So we did that. And then that winter, there was a big snowstorm, the story goes, and Robert Altman, who was there to do something, was staying at the Sherry Netherlands. I couldn't get to his Broadway show that he was going to see the actors he was interested in, so went across the street and saw me and liked me. That's what happened. And then a few days later, a week later, his casting person called and said, "Jeff, yes, I'm in my apartment. Robert Altman, wants you to be in this movie." Okay, California Split, which is a very good movie, I think, about gambling. And I had a couple of scenes and, enjoyed myself, went out to California for the first time, met him. And he said when he met me, over it was happy hour, he had a scotch, and he said, I think they're telling me I'm important. I just did this movie MASH and it did well. And, so we're going to do this California Split, these couple of scenes. And if I like you and you like me, I'm doing this thing this summer called Nashville. And I have an idea for something in there for you, And he did, and I did, and we did it that summer, Nashville.
Isn't that a crazy story to do those films?
I was lucky. It's really lucky.
Yeah.
It's just either crazy luck. I mean, who knows? If I'd been born 100 years ago or in another part of the world, all of that. But maybe my inner fire attracted, who knows, some of these unbelievably miraculous things.
I think it's the shower. I want to be an actor.
Well, whatever you believe in.
One of your earliest breakthrough films was The Big Chill, where you played Michael Gold. What an incredible ensemble cast. Favorite memory of The Big Chill? Or one of?
It was great. that was fun. That was fun and interesting. Yeah. And, we could sink our teeth into that, and the group, it was a great group experience. I'm still in touch with Glenn Close. We're about to do, what's it called? Jenny Tversky is here. Some conversation that will be, presented in some way. I'm looking forward to that. We've been in touch all this time. She's fantastic. She's fantastic.
A very close company of actors from that film. There was a lot of breakout for everybody in that film, right?
Oh, yeah. Kevin Kline had just done Sophie's Choice. It hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
We were palsy, and it was really fun. Mary Kay Place and all those people. Fantastic. William Hurt. Yeah. William Hurt. Oh, boy, fantastic, Yeah.
All of you in that movie.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah, we took it seriously, and it unexpectedly, kind of, did rang the bell.
I love those kind of movies where people making them don't really know. Like Robert Altman said, I made a little movie called MASH that became a monster hit, and so did The Big Chill.
Yeah, nobody paid attention to MASH when it was being done. They were doing another thing, and he was just kind of under the radar. And likewise, nobody paid much attention. They did that original Flashback. You might be interested. Had Kevin Costner in it. He was the dead body, and then they screened it, and we had shot that. And we shot that first. And so seeing everybody in the modern day and going back into seeing my fake wig and fake beard, and he figured didn't need it. So,
But that was great. You gained wider attention for Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah, that's 1978. That's a little bit before that, right? With Philip Kaufman, great director.
Oh, yeah. With another great cast, you got to work with Donald Sutherland, Brooke Adams, Veronica Cartwright, Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy, fantastic. Oh, fantastic. But Donald Sutherland, whom I'd seen all these people when I was a kid, our parents had a kind of an art film appetite.
Yeah.
And so they took us in the mid 60s, late 60s,
Yeah.
a very fertile period, to many things. I saw Joanna, the first movie that Donald Sutherland had ever done. So here I was working with him in that, and I did another movie with him in Canada called Threshold that you probably don't know about. Very kind of interesting movie. I play Robert Jarvik, kind of a character who invents the artificial heart, and he's like DeBakey, who's the surgeon who puts it in, Donald Sutherland. So we have a relationship, and it was Mayor Winningham's first movie. And I remembered at the table read for that movie, I went, this is Mayor Winningham. They said, she was reading sensitively and beautifully, and I went, Mayor Winningham, she's very good. And not in a dissimilar way from Michael Stuhlbarg. When we had a table read, at the first read, I hadn't seen him in anything. And we had a reading for Pillowman. And I was reading and I went, oh, Michael Stuhlbarg. And Billy Crudup was in that, and Jelko Ivanek was a really great thing. The playwright was there,
Well, let's move into that because I don't know who saw Martin McDonagh as the Pillowman on stage, one of the greatest performances. Seriously, I mean,
people come up to me and say, gee, that production, that was a good time. The Booth Theater. Thank you.
You loved working on that play too with Martin McDonagh.
Oh, Martin McDonagh was there every day, and we'd go like I liked it. Stanislavski supposedly, gave line readings and stuff. And if you're Sandy, if you're a Meisner person, or you can make it your own.
Yeah.
You can. So I like even Wes Anderson will do a whole reading of the whole script, everybody's part. Some actors don't want to hear it. I'm like, tell you. I want more information is fine. I'll make it my own, but I want to hear how you see it, how you hear it. So likewise, Martin McDonagh was there every day, and we'd say, so this line, as you know, a play is different than a movie in this way. Many others too, but you rehearse and you're excavating before you ever do anything, which can be good or bad. But yes, we'd say, Martin, what are you thinking about that? Why am I saying that? And how do you hear that? And is there a word there that is interesting, or all of that? It was delicious to do. John Crowley was a great director. Scott Pask won the Tony, I think, for the
best
production
set.
design.
Yeah.
That was really good. But Michael Stuhlbarg was a treasure in that, He was obviously conspicuously very gifted from that first reading on, He's something, and a delightful guy. What a sweet guy. Yeah.
You always come back to the theater at some point during your career. You came back to do Seminar on Broadway and a few other things. Why do you come home to the theater?
I have been, domesticated. I did, as I said, at the Mitzi Newhouse with
Century,
Laurie Metcalf, whose play I'm sure you've seen. I haven't seen it. I got to see that. She's a theater animal. If you see these people, Mark Rylance, you've seen him on stage.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him do Labette. Yeah. I saw him in Boeing, but and you've probably seen Jerusalem and things. I missed a couple of things, but I saw him in Labette. Have you ever seen that? Oh my gosh, he had like a 45-minute monologue in that, and he was like, oh, he's doing something. Yeah. Oh, he's so at home on stage. He's a stage animal, Likewise, Laurie Metcalf and all that stuff. It's great to see that. So I love the stage.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I love that the exercise of the 8 times a week and exploration until the last night, until closing night, when you can make it better than ever and discover something new. That's a different kind of discovery, excavation process. Movies, it's a different kind of thing. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes better, sometimes worse. They call stage an actor's medium because it's all you and you do the whole thing every night. And yes, it sure is. But these rehearsals are great. You can excavate the material and doing it, you can get more juice out of the thing if it's really worthy of your exploration and discovery. But sometimes you can, get directed a lot, which is nice. I like to be directed, but everything has been, so by the time you do it, this is kind of what you got to do. And a good director there's freedom, you have to find the freedom within that, of course. Yeah. But movies, sometimes you can go, just roll the camera. Yeah. We've never done this before. You haven't seen me do it. I have a couple of ideas, if it's that kind of show and that kind of director. You roll the camera, let me do it a couple of times. And that feels actorly to me sometimes. You can try something out that nobody's going to say, oh, no, that's way off, never mind. No. You can try it, and then you can say, I have a funny thing that I do these days. And then afterwards you can say, did you like that? And it can get used. So your actorly way you can find yourself being presented in your invention and all that stuff. I have a funny thing that I do. I don't know if it's funny. I don't know if it annoys anybody, but sometimes on camera, I'll do something, and then before they cut, I'll say, "Note to editor, that was a good one. I like that one." I find out that Myron Kirstein is our great editor on the Wicked movies. I go, "Myron, good. That's a good one." Jeff thought that was a good one. Make a note of that. That was a good one. Whether anybody listens to that. And it seems to be so crazy and stupid that nobody goes, Jeff, none of your business, none of your business. Whereas through the years, some directors, not the talented ones I found, but some directors go, no, don't come to dailies, or don't see it, or, because maybe you'll have an opinion or something. The good ones, Steven Spielberg says, see everything, see anything you want. I saw it through the camera. Do anything you want.
Well, that's what I want to get. Let's get into him next. You have a worldwide fan base of moviegoers from your roles of mathematician Ian Malcolm in 4 Jurassic Park films. Steven Spielberg, I mean, that's got to be 3 of the 4 he did, right, that you did?
2.
Okay,
Two, yeah. You got to work with good directors.
What's he like?
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah.
As you've seen, I'm sure you've seen the documentary on him. You've seen the 50-year anniversary of Jaws.
Yeah.
He's that way. He's brilliant and talkative. Will tell you stories and insightful. Offer his his insights and his knowledge. And he's so just like Michael Jordan or people who have had that, their mom has to say, put the camera down, come in from the basketball court, Of course, he was doing that from the start, as John M. Chu was doing storyboards from the start. And so it's in his blood, it's in him, he's more than prepared, he's envisioned the thing in such a way. And then on the set, giving, generous, inventive, joyful, playful, childlike, in an infectious way, and it's just great. But he's also producerial, and so I think the first Jurassic Park was, he'd go, let's go, would come in under budget. He's also a kind of a driver of the whole thing.
Well, you have to be, especially something that big. A film like that. What was it like living on that set with all the dinosaurs and just the massiveness of it?
Well, it was great. The first 2 weeks we were in Kauai, Hawaii, until there was the Hurricane Iniki, and the island was devastated, and we took off from there. He was great. The night he said to Laura Dern and I, he said, here, watch this, because all the lights were out and everything was out. But he said, he took a flashlight. He said, look, I'll show you something about lighting. He said, horror story, love story. Horror story, love story. Steven Spielberg, it's unforgettable. What was I saying? He's great.
Yeah.
What were we saying? Big.
Yeah.
The dinosaurs. Well, Stan Winston, had made those things, won the Oscar for that. Dennis Muren, had intersected. Stephen, orchestrated it so that he intersected with that movie at the moment that the technology was providing dinosaurs being able to be seen like that and depicted like that. And so, part of it was Dennis Muir, and I wish I'd been more present for that. And so, what's he doing with those tennis balls? And he's a genius, and I would have been, a little more Jerry Lewis, the complete filmmaker, interested in everybody's job. But I'm kind of a little bit like that. But Stan Winston, hard to ignore. He also won the Oscars, I think, many times. And the first place we went to shoot was that open field in Hawaii where that sick Triceratops was. And, Sam Neill is breathing with it, and she's feeling the tongue and tearing up. Well, that thing looked like a dinosaur. It had the puppeteers or whatever you call them behind a thing, operating the things and the breathing, and it was a real dinosaur. It was breathtaking, amazing.
Did everything change again for you after doing The Fly, playing Seth Brundle for director David Cronenberg? Talk about working with David and living in the Cronenberg world. What is that like in that role? What you go through in that movie?
This is great, like a lazy Susan.
I know, totally. Here, we'll pass it around. Questions? Fabulous. Dim sum?
I like I like that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where they go, please, Larry, don't call it a lazy Susan. It's really? Yes, that's sexist. No, okay, an industrious Susan, a indefatigable Susan, et cetera, et cetera.
Cronenberg.
Cronenberg. 1986.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. I got that script. I thought, I'd seen a lot of Vincent Price movies, probably including that, all those William Castle things and those Roger Corman things when I was seeing first run in the mid-'60s and early '60s. So I had a taste for that kind of thing. I like monster movies and stuff like that. And so I read the script, and it was a very intelligent, brilliant Cronenberg-esque version of that. And I was, I like that. And however I got the part, we talked, and I said, I want to do this. And then he's fantastic. He's the favorite son of Toronto, of course. He's an international treasure, but he works out of Toronto, and he's Canadian in that he's quite, even though full of shadow pioneering bravery and brilliance. He's to the naked eye seems like a nice, person like that. He's no crazy artist, So he's fantastic, and I think that was a landmark and breakthrough for me creatively. I think I felt as never before so passionate and invested in the thing that I had some ideas, and he was very collaborative too, and so we worked. I felt like I could work together with him on it, and and the bad ideas he threw away, but he included some of the good ones, and it was great to work on that. Gina Davis was in it, and we rehearsed a lot, ourselves. That was good. But it was in Toronto in the middle of the winter, and they won the Stéphane Dupuis, and Chris Walas won the Oscar for the special effects, and they mapped all those out very meticulously. Finally, it was 5 hours in the chair in the middle. 2:30 in the morning, you'd go to the set, to the stage, and it was freezing cold in Canada, and I did my stuff. Yeah.
One of the most challenging roles for you, would you say?
It was meaty. It was meaty and challenging. Oh, I knew that it potentially had a lot. So challenging in the sense that, hey, I could fall short of what I know this is potentially could be. So yes, challenging, and all the things that all the challenges, the physical challenges and things like that. And I worked out. I had to be. I have that start to have that fly, which is in his interpretation a stronger human. Superhuman kind of resource. So I was doing a lot of lifting weights just before we shot things. So I'd pump myself up for a couple of those scenes. So there was that. I did that, and then emotionally it was demanding, and I had to be tough. I had to be a tower and a fury. For some things, and sexuality, and heartbreak, and finally romance, tragic romance, going out of my mind in order to be with my love that had finally come my way at this point in my life. And, even though I was now getting sick at the same time, came up with the wacky idea and monstrous idea of blending ourselves together if we couldn't be, in the conventional way, bonded, which finally led to us, me getting in that machine and becoming half machine and half person, which she finally had to put out of its misery. Terrible. I see it. I break up.
It's a brilliant performance, and it's a great film, right?
Thank you.
Totally.
Thank you. I said, hey, can I play piano? Can Seth Brundle have a piano in this crazy loft? Yes, and I play a little bit for a second.
Well, I want to go back to when you were 15 years old.
Yes.
Did you call jazz clubs in Pittsburgh? Listen,
I had a lot of moxie. I don't know why.
Okay.
I've always had. Well,
go back to 15.
That sort of has driven it. I guess I have. Yeah. Maybe the combination, like we were trying to guess at, universal, how the universe goes. Maybe it's all pre-planned, but maybe my belly full of need for this thing, plus. Wait, what was I just going to say? Oh, yeah. Plus my, yes, please God, let me be an actor. Plus my, I don't know where it comes from, my ability to kind of, I shouldn't have confidence doing this, but I'm going to do it. Kind of a adventuresome spirit, you know. And so I'd already set my sights on acting as a career, but piano, in a parallel way, was a love of mine, and I learned jazz, and I wanted to play jazz, and so just as a kind of a side, like it kind of became, and now has developed, a side passion, I thought it was secret, or another secret of mine, and I locked myself in a room in the house and got the Yellow Pages and looked up cocktail lounges and started the A's, and I said, you know, hello, hi, I understand that you're looking for a pianist there. And nobody told me. I got this idea myself, and most of them said, I don't know. No, we don't have a piano here. Never. Okay, next one thing. And someone said, well, you know, we have no, I'm not looking for any, but we have a piano here. How old are you? I'm, you know, okay, well, come down and show me what you can do. Maybe we'll give you an idea. I got a couple of gigs that way, and my parents would.
See?
You know,
Cocktail lounge, jazz pianist at 15.
And kind of, you know, I'd swing out.
I love that.
I'd kind of take a chance. I had a desire, a life force in me that wanted to connect.
Yeah.
There was something in me that wanted to connect. When I was going to these special art classes outside Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh, it's a lovely place that has, you know, beautiful, you know, dinosaur exhibit. They're like the biggest dinosaur exhibit that I'd walk through once a week, you know, and other places. Oh, I know what I was going to say. My dad would pick me up afterwards. Would say, "I'll pick you up." So I have to wait outside this beautiful museum, and I was full of, because of this creative thing that had sort of been triggered in the art class. I was feeling my oats or something, and several times I would go, I'm waiting for my dad. I'm going to do this thing, and I would see people come down the street, and I would pretend that I knew them. And I'd go, oh my golly, hi, how are you? They'd go, do I know you? Yeah, don't I? Wait a minute, where do I know you? Yes, of course I do. They'd go, I don't know. What's your name? You know, and I'd kind of make a connection. Oh, that's something unusual, isn't it? I don't think everybody does that, but there's some seed of that is still kind of operating in me, you know, for good or ill. You know?
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's an acting challenge.
There was something like that. Yeah.
While you're waiting for your dad, you might as well talk to somebody and pretend you know them.
Yes, and like pretend something and see if a regular person can buy it, and then you know, people do that. You've heard stories about, you know, if I dress like a lady and see if they'll buy it, you know, or see if this story, you know, if I'll tell them this fake story, see if they buy it. Geez, I'm just coming from my gig. You tell the cab driver, you know, I've done that too, you know.
Well, another huge blockbuster film for you is Independence Day. Playing satellite engineer David Levinson for director Roland Emmerich. What was it like living in the world of Independence Day, another huge blockbuster film?
Well, it did well, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it caught the thing. The marketing people, you know, they blew up the White House to put it on the Super Bowl, you know. So people had a taste for it. As everybody says, you got to hit the right story at the right time. Otherwise, you know, maybe not. So maybe that was right then. And then Roland Emmerich was full of piss and vinegar at that point. And you know, had this idea to, you know, have special effects at a lower cost, you know, that he had rolled the studio in, and he was running from one stage to another and making these models, and, you know, we did it. It just came out, you know, if you like that movie or not, it rang the bell for a lot of people. People like that movie. But Bill Pullman, how about that Bill Pullman? Gee, I love him. Yep. He's an artful art guy. His wife is a avant-garde choreographer, and I think they do things. Now his son is quite the hot stuff, I think. But Bill is a real actor, and I admire him greatly. I've loved him, boy, when he gets with a good director. When he does Lost Highway with one of my favorites, David Lynch, you know. Well, we did another movie, Igby Goes Down, together. He was in that. And Claire Danes, who I ran into 2 nights ago, was in that. And of course, Kieran Culkin was like his first thing. Oh my God. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And some of these were small independent films. You love to do those too, right? You get a lot out of those.
Well, I was always, whatever comes along,
Yeah.
you got to, surf the best of what's coming along. And yes, I do have a taste for, my own particular taste is for, something unexpected, not formulaic, something adventuresomely artful. Like my parents, took us to see, I'm Curious Yellow, and they took us to see when we were too young to understand it. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Mike Nichols is first, and now I've read all about him in his latest biography. That's a serious effort, and those people, what they're doing there is a serious, adventurous effort. No, and that's my taste. I like a big movie, and Wicked, I think, has sort of the highest quality, but also crowd-pleasing, rollicking entertainment in it, and you can get that. I've kind of hit that bell a couple of times with a couple of movies. So, but yes, I like interesting movies. We can talk about the current cinema, you and I, later, and some of the things that I'm drawn to at this moment. Ari Aster, I like him. I liked Eddington. It came out. He's interesting. And Beau is Afraid was the last one. He started with Hereditary, and then he did Midsommar. Some scary movies. But he's an interesting guy and very knowledgeable about all films, and a very interesting storyteller. And I'd like to. A lot of people I'd still like to work with.
Yeah. You entered the Marvel Cinematic Universe as the Grand Master in Thor Ragnarok.
Yes, sir.
So I kicked this series off with Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. They've all done these kind of movies. They said there's nothing like entering that world, because but Wicked's the same way. I mean, these huge movies on these gigantic sets and sci-fi and everything. What was it like entering the world of Marvel?
Well, I tell you, now that you've mentioned it, yes, I have done these big productions, but the particular variations that I've lucked into with Steven Spielberg and with, who else did you say? With Taika Waititi, who did Thor Ragnarok. It feels like, and I was going to say, what other big movie did you say? Because it was the same thing.
We had a lot of Independence Day.
Yes. Yeah. It feels like an independent classroom workshop movie, because Steven Spielberg is, as you know, interested in character, and he'd made, Jaws. What makes Jaws so good is not only his master storytelling, but his character. He's like directors. The actors are so great in it, and even Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and many of those movies. Likewise, Taika Waititi is we first met, and I go, why are we doing this? Not that there's anything wrong with this movie. And I came to love Kevin Feige and all those people, what they're doing. They do creative things. But he said, He said, I don't think you should be theatrical in this or cartoony in any way or comic booky in any way. I think you should be I like a lot of what you have that's a little bit contemporary, and I think we should improvise a lot. And, so it was like that. It was like a small experimental, and likewise with Steve and some of those other things. Oh, yes, and of course, Wicked. And John M. Chu, it felt like with him, with this cozy family, us trying to, make it good and just make it, as if we were in a black box and, trying to make something good.
That's why I think the big blockbusters that become big blockbusters, it still goes back to the acting. You get the spectacle when it has to be there. But like I said, all these directors you've worked on, these big ones, Jurassic Park, it's a huge movie, but it still comes down to the actors and the story you're following them through Jurassic Park. And the same thing with Wicked. And it's interesting because the temperature in Wicked for good is a little different, because it's about stories in the second half. It's so, you really are invested in all of these characters. You saw them all in part one, and now in part two, you really figure out how they've stayed together, how they separate, who, like I said, you and Marble and everything else. And I felt for your character so much in this movie.
Thank you.
It's like, you're like, oh my God, he's a bad man, but oh my God, I totally understand where he came from. And then you hate him again. No, but you know what I mean. But it's like, but that comes down to the acting, and it comes to the heart of the story.
Yes, I think so too. And but I like our movie too. I like Wicked. I'm kind of not only messed up by it,
Yeah.
and it's funny.
Yeah.
There are many funny moments, but I'm on the edge of my seat. I've seen it now three
Yeah.
times, and I'm still the storytelling and what's going on, and how it intersects with the Judy Garland with Dorothy and all the events of the 1939 is fascinating. I guess Gregory Maguire has something to do.
Yes.
His genius of that conception. But I'm now with John Chu's interpretation. I'm on the edge of my seat going, and I'm still anxious to see it again because I go, what does it mean? Why does that character? What happens with them, and how'd that happen? You know, and there's a little piece of a clue of a puzzle piece that's so cleverly, et cetera, et cetera, et
The
cetera.
puzzle pieces that all come together in part 2 are going to blow your mind.
I'm into it.
And it flies by like this. You just sit there, it starts, and all of a sudden the credits are going by, and you're like, wow, and you've gone on this incredible journey with all these people. So it's really, really wonderful.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for Wicked 2.
Really appreciate it.
Wicked for good.
That's a big deal. Thank you so much.
You started talking about Wes Anderson, one of my favorite directors too, frequent collaborator. I think you did 4 films, right? The Life Aquatic with Steve, how do you say?
Steve Zissou.
Let's totally. The Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs, and Asteroid City. Working with him, was he one of those pervadum with words, or he would work with you all? Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, having mentioned Robert Altman, he was a kind of fan of Robert Altman's, and not that he's copying anybody, but he liked that credo, that approach of let's have a communal great time of it. So we go to he takes you to exotic places and has great meals, and that you all share. It's really like that. He is, and then he is very, as you can tell, deliciously meticulous. And artful, and even with the words, he's a wonderful writer, and he's crafted your character and allowed you to do something that hasn't been seen before, used you in a different way. It's really perfect, and he's drawn pictures of your costume. And Milena Canonero, who's a brilliant costume person, comes in and with her team of Italian artisans makes something for you. It's just fantastic to work on. And then the cream of the crop crew and the cream of the crop cast. All those people that we can talk about, Ray Fiennes and all, who you get to have dinner with and hang around, and it's just delightful. But he's meticulous. I remember in the Grand Budapest Hotel, I have a monologue where I'm reading the will, and I'd practiced it, and I'd suggested to him, I was going to pass by his territory. I said, can I come over? Can we go through the material now? Because he doesn't rehearse either. He doesn't have table reads. But I'd love to, just you and me. I'm going to show you what I'm thinking about this now, because I want to see if I'm on the right track and in the right ballpark. So we did that to great, and I think he enjoyed it. I certainly did, and found it effectively good. I'm in the right way, and so I showed up whenever I did a few weeks later, did my stuff, and the first couple of takes I did, and he's following along. He goes, "Yes, I see that you're changed that 'and' to a 'thee.'" I said, I know I did. And we haven't talked about it, but here's why. Because I thought this, and I have all these written. And he said, I got you. Please do it like it is. I said, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And then he's so fantastic he loves, and he goes, let's do one more for pleasure after he's gotten what he wants, because it really is for pleasure. And he goes, do it there. But within that kind of constraint, he loves actors, and he loves the freedom. He loves what you bring. And in the same way that Altman said, let's see what you show me what I'm going to photograph. In that same way, he goes, let's see the way you do the part. And from take to take, he goes, good. Let's do this a little bit. And it's a very creative, delightful collaboration like that. And then I was going to tell you one more thing. Wes Anderson.
But you did 4 movies with him.
4 movies, and then he's a master leader and teacher. There's a room in the hotel that you're all staying in with a stack of DVDs, and he says, here are the movies that inspired me in this thing. Perhaps you haven't seen, Grand Hotel or something. Many movies he's turned me on to, or The Silence, Bergman's The Silence. Look at that, and you take his whole course. It's just fantastic. I could tell you many other things, but he's great. Great.
Beautiful films, all of them. And they're all so different, but they've got that little Wes Anderson thing going on, which is really great.
I love him and I love them.
Yeah. You were nominated for an Academy Award for Best Live Action Short Film for Little Surprises. What a cast. Julie Harris, one of my all-time favorite actresses.
Mine too. Mine too.
How proud are you of that film? Yeah, go ahead.
I am,
Go ahead.
and Rod Steiger.
Oh, yeah.
Rod Steiger was in it. It started
Wow.
off as I've never wanted to be a director. I feel like my plate is full with trying to act. But I was teaching, as I said, and they approached me and said, "Do you want to do a short movie?"
Yeah.
I said, "Well, okay, if I can use my students and we can kind of improvise and come up with a script out of that, come up with that out of some workshopping stuff." So we did that, and then he said, "You know, you need a couple of names in this thing. We're going to put on Showtime, and we're going to give you some $300,000 stuff. So you got to have some names." Okay, well, for this part, the father of these. Here's who I'd love to get, and it fell to me to call up Rod Steiger and say, "You know, my name's Jeff Goldblum. Oh yeah, you want to? We have this thing. Can I send it to you? Can we talk about it?" You know, he agreed to do it, and then Julie Harris. Oh my God! I just seen East of Eden again. Oh God! And I would watch her be in the camera. I'd be the directing, and I would cry. She's something. We got to talking about because she played Linda Lohman in Death of a Salesman, a play that I've always adored, and I said at the end of the first act, it says you sing him a song. He says, he goes, "Look, he says they could see the moon between the buildings." He just, let me go to sleep. She says, "Darling, don't." She says, don't worry about it." He goes, sing to me, Linda." But it doesn't say. Arthur Miller doesn't say. I said, "What did you sing to him?" She sings this song. Yeah. She's just great. She's just great. And Rod Steiger was amazing. You know, I've just been watching things about, once again about On the Waterfront and, the back of the cat, and seeing him talk about it later, and, he was great. He was great. So yeah.
Beautiful film, so well deserved. Just
Look,
really
this
great.
What you saw.
Oh yeah.
Oh, thank you. I've never shown it to Emily, my wife. So she has many things she hasn't seen. So she keeps saying, "Let's see one of your things." I go, "What would I want to show you? Let's see." I'm sort of interested in something else now. There's this Emily.
She's right there.
Emily, go.
Fabulous.
That's her. Yes, I'd recognize you anywhere. Yes, there she is.
You have done extensive work on television, including your Emmy-nominated turn on Will and Grace. Let's hear it for Will and Grace, his Emmy-nominated turn. What do you love the most about doing TV? Because it's so fast.
Yes,
right?
Sometimes, yes, but some of these movies that I've done, it's also an emergency deep cover I did. And Bill Duke was, I think we were under a constraint, I love Bill Duke and Lawrence Fishburne and that. I like that. What's the movie you're talking about? No, TV. Oh yes, I did that 10-speed and brown.
Oh yeah,
shoot.
Totally.
Well, I
love it.
And I signed up for a couple of years of Criminal Intent, Law and Order Criminal Intent, Range Alignment. I wanted to, it's fast, but because you do some of these movies you're talking about, and they're
the same way.
I've kept working constantly, luckily, but sometimes it's a scene here, a scene there, or a day here and a day there, and I'd like to. And at some point I was like, I want to do this more. I can act myself, I can rehearse, I can do things, but I want to be on the set with the crew. I want to solve problems daily and continually. I think I'm going to get something out of that. I want to exercise myself. I like doing plays. I like the 8 times a week, but I'm not doing a play. So I signed up for the Criminal Intent, and we did it. It was fine and dandy. Julianne Nicholson was my partner the first year.
Nice.
And it was nice. But I must say, I had I don't want to say anything pejorative at all, but here's what. I'll just tell you this, nothing against anything, but it's a little bit of a, you know, they put them out there. They're not trying to. Doesn't aspire.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And Patti Smith, not to drop names, said, you know, it's my favorite thing. I check into a hotel room and just watch episodes of that. You know, so it's fine and dandy. But as you know, sometimes I have snobby tastes, and you know, I'm a little highfalutin, and so and aspirational. So on the first couple of days of my first thing, I'm like, oh, this is like, oh, I said, yes. Let's talk to the writers. I said, this episode, this is like On the Waterfront. This is like On the Water. I think, and I was overheard by one of the crew members who'd been there 20 years already. And he said, Jeff, it's not On the Waterfront. I was a little sunken, but I was sobered up. You know, I knew it. You know. But anyway, I got out of it what I wanted. Yeah. I did exercise, and that was enough for me. But you know, and now at this point, where I've got a couple of kids, and you know, and I'm getting more opportunities than ever. I feel my work is better than ever, and the best is yet to come. But I'm not in the same place. I'm still a humble student, but I feel like if I'm going to spend 16 hours on a set, it has to be really worth it. Really worth it. So I have a little different criteria right now.
Okay, so my next question is, how has being a dad changed the way you look at your life and career?
Well, don't get me started, but you have a whole different, agenda, and your whole story you can see in a different way, and then these kids are just, they open you up. If you're after opening up, having these Emily and these kids, it does it. It does it, and in every way, it gets your heart on your sleeve in every single way, every color of the rainbow, because they are feral, as you know, and mysterious and amazing, and go through, from 1 to 0 to 100 20 times a day, and so you're going through it's a very good ride, It's a very good ride, but some of it, a lot of it, is just absolutely amazing and wonderful, so it's a little bit what I just said, that you want to spend time with them and figure out how to juggle your things. So your work takes a little different perspective, a little different place in your calendar, And then I was going to say about the kids, they're not only amazing, but the youngest one, River, it's Charlie and River. Yeah. River says he wants to be an actor. Oh, good. I don't know what that means. I certainly wouldn't push him into it. I don't know if he knows what it means. He kind of is getting the idea, but I tell you, he is naturally more than I believe I am or was. An actor like Sandy Meisner is talking about. He lives the life of an actor and the imagination in a fuller, more continual way than I think I ever did. Maybe I'm not a natural actor in some ways. Whether he can find something else besides, trying to make your way this way, if it's still a job, in the next 2 years or 20 years, is a delightfully amazing actor. And talk about vocally. They're piano players, and I help them with their lessons. And Emily does every day, and then they have a great teacher a couple times a week. But we facilitate their practice, which they're getting more disciplined idea than I did at that age. Charlie, they both go, okay. It was a lot of wrestling, and should I wrestle? Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't wrestle. But now they're kind of, it's an hour before school. Here I go, and here I go. And Charlie, for instance, vocally what they do, and imaginatively, and is amazing. But just vocally, he sings along, like George Benson with his guitar. He sings along with his things and has a vocal range like I have never had, could only wish for. Anyway, there's something like that. So it changes your life because it a paradigm shifts your view about your craft, about what's possible. And then opens you up in a million ways to,
You must be more open. You've always been an open person, but I'm saying you must be more open, like watching your kids do it. Like, I'm going to go into this film role, I'm going to go into this play, and I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to play the wizard a little more open.
Yeah, exactly. Or sometimes, I think, how would River do it? How would River do it? What, yeah.
Okay, you're all clap. That's the best. I just think I think that they're so young and getting involved in this.
Wait till you see. I don't want to spoil anything, but I probably shouldn't. We filmed it. We were asked to. Yeah. Well, they've performed on stage. I was at the London Palladium with our band, and they both got up and did a song.
Oh, well.
Charlie did "Flight of the Bumblebee" very well. The audience went crazy, stole the show. River did the James Bond theme song. Also crazy went the audience. We have upcoming. I don't think I should.
It stays here.
I'm allowed to tell you, yeah. But there's we did a commercial that Emily is in and Charlie and River are in with me.
You don't have to tell us what it is, but look for a commercial coming up with the entire Goldblum family.
Look for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's already played in movie theaters.
Okay.
Before you see Wicked, I heard somebody saw it. I didn't even know it was going to be in theaters. But and you know who directed it?
Who's that?
Alice Brooks, who was our cinematographer on Wicked.
Who I met the other night.
She's fantastic.
Oh, she's fabulous. She's so great.
In any case, that's all I'll say about that.
Okay, so as you're talking about that, you're also a celebrated and accomplished jazz pianist, having fronted your renowned band, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra. I love it. A friend of your mom's, right?
That's correct.
For 3 solid decades and counting, with some glorious albums, including the latest one that's out called Still Blooming, released on Decca Records. And there are some incredible guest artists on this album. Who's on this album?
Ariana Grande. Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah.
From my brush, well, I've known her since she was a kid, but Asteroid City, we brushed elbows, and also Isle of Dogs is Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
Does look it up? It's out now. Yeah. Scarlett Johansson wanted. She said, "I want to do that song out of the tree of life. I just picked me a plum, but I want to do it bossa nova." Yeah. We made an arrangement for her. She kills it. And Ariana, I was on the set, just singing everything I ever could think of, including. I don't know why I love you like I do. I don't know why I just do. She said, my grandfather used to sing that to me all the time. I said, I got this band. You want to record with us? She said, yeah, I do. And then Cynthia, we cooked up this thing. We'll meet again from the end of Strangelove, which was a big song in England during World War II. She sings that. That's out of this world.
So that's the album out right now on Decca Records.
Yeah. Go. And we're doing more. We're recording more.
You're recording another one, right?
I'm practicing every day. I start my day with an hour practice. And, oh boy. And, we're coming out with more. I'm having a growth spurt. Yeah. I don't know how it happened, but it's gotten better and better.
Well, one of my final questions is, since we have a house full of actors and actors watching all around the world, I have to ask you about auditioning. We talked about this upstairs. And we don't know what's going to go on behind that door, what they're looking for, but were you good at auditioning?
I'll tell you all about it. But I want to add one thing to what I just said, because it occurs to me that Sandy Meisner said, and I guess he put it in my mind, maybe that's it. He said, it takes 20 years to even call yourself an actor, but you can keep getting better until your last breath. And so maybe that's in my mind, and I feel like it's, coming to fruition. Auditioning.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'd like to hear from you what you want to know about auditioning, but
were you always prepared?
I was prepared, but I didn't know preparation. Preparation, how to prepare, is something I'm still learning. So it is something that I was 40 years less knowledgeable about 40 years ago. Yeah. And so, not as prepared as I know how to be now.
You went up for a film. You went up for a really big film. Dog Day Afternoon.
Yeah, I was telling you, that's right. Oh, no, I was stupid about myself, even though Sandy Meisner had said, and that's the horse's mouth, who says, make it your own, know yourself, find your voice, find out don't copy anybody, find out who you are. I went for, they had, seen me in Death Wish or something, or knew about me, and they sent me to meet Sidney Lumet on Dog Day Afternoon, for heaven's sakes. And I met Sidney Lumet, but they sat me in a room and said, read this script. We're not giving it out to anybody. Read. They said, we want to see you for this part of, I realized later, for Chris Sarandon's part, the girlfriend of, transitioning a girlfriend of Al Pacino. And Chris Sarandon was in Two Gentlemen of Verona, by the way.
Totally.
Oh, yeah. So, and I read it, and I was like, it kind of that scared me. I went, how about this other part, that Sal part, that John Cazale had already probably been cast in. They went, okay, if that's what you want to do, yeah, sure, read that. I read it. Okay, well, thank you. How stupid was I? Stupid, Maybe I could have gotten that. If I'd gotten that, what a great movie that was. I could have done that, maybe. Chris was great in it, but, I was too young. I didn't know what I was doing. I could have only done what I've done, including having children, when I did it, You gotta be smart.
That's the way I look at life too. I always say we're all on our own journey. If you don't take the left road, you take the right road. But I do believe that sometimes if you're meant to do something, two roads will meet together, and someone you should have met maybe 10 years ago will come back into your life. Could be a director, could be a person, it could be anybody, right?
Sounds right to me. I like to say, I'm coming out with a book, believe it or not really. It's called Jeffrmations.
Yep.
Yeah. And one of the Jeffrmations that I do tell there are 29 kind of funny ones, or some serious ones. One's from Sandy Meisner. It says, "Use what exists."
Yeah.
Which is really good. But one thing that I tell myself, and relates to what you just said, and sometimes I tell other people, whether it's for good or I don't know if it does any good, I say, you're right on schedule. You're right on schedule, which in a way you are. No matter what the meat and potatoes calendar says or your own, juxtaposition of hopes and accomplishments say, in fact, in some more profound way, you are right on schedule. Yeah.
Remember that, everybody? Listen, I have done this for years, my friend.
No.
This,
Mr. Ridge, thank you.
Let's hear it. Jeff Goldblum.